I'm a private investigator. I've got some books that says super mayor. Inside I have from the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois.
One way that the government always does it is to go and investigate people around her, and that's what...
Dalton in crisis. Mayor Tiffany Henyard faces growing scandal. Dalton, once a peaceful community, is now caught in a political storm as Mayor Tiffany Henyard faces intense backlash and growing calls for her resignation. Allegations of corruption, legal battles, and chaotic leadership have turned the village into a battleground. Instead of addressing concerns, Henyard has taunted her critics, even during live TV appearances, fueling public outrage. Accusations of financial mismanagement and dysfunction in board meetings have only added to the crisis. Despite the controversy, Henyard refuses to step down, holding on to power as scrutiny over her leadership intensifies. The situation worsened when a county judge ruled her recent appointments illegal, raising more doubts about her ability to govern. Adding to the turmoil, an FBI investigation is now looming over her administration. Many residents feel betrayed as Henyard's actions come under increasing scrutiny. During a heated public meeting, overwhelming frustration forced officials to move the event to the Park District instead of the usual village hall. As Henyard took the stage, she declared, "I am the mayor of this village, a real mayor, a real boss in the building." Instead of applause, her words were met with loud boos and jeers, showing how much support she has lost. With tensions rising and Henyard refusing to step down, Dalton faces a critical moment. Will she continue to fuel the chaos, or is this the beginning of the end of her controversial leadership? The stakes are high, and the drama in Dalton is far from over. The next chapter of this political crisis is just beginning.
Several new developments in South suburban Dalton today. First, the state comptroller has suspended some payments to the village because it has failed to follow the law by providing financial.
Tensions in Dalton have reached a breaking point as frustration over Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership continues to escalate. Once a quiet suburban village, Dalton is now in the midst of a full-scale political crisis, with mounting legal troubles, financial mismanagement, and public outrage fueling the turmoil. A major blow came when the state comptroller suspended certain village payments due to Henyard's failure to submit the required financial reports. This development only deepened residents' anger, leading to larger, more vocal crowds at board meetings. From loud boos to direct calls for her resignation, the message from the community is clear. People have had enough. Yet instead of addressing these concerns, Henyard has responded with defiance. She has openly mocked her critics and pushed the limits of her authority, further inflaming tensions. At a particularly heated board meeting, she made a dramatic entrance, attempting to assert her control, only for the crowd to turn its back on her in protest. This moment underscored the deepening rift between Henyard and the very people she was elected to serve. Meanwhile, legal battles surrounding Henyard's administration continue to intensify. Accusations of misusing taxpayer money, appointing political allies without proper approval, and disregarding court rulings have cast a long shadow over her tenure. A Cook County judge recently ruled that some of her appointments were illegal. Rather than comply, Henyard has chosen to challenge the courts, further escalating the legal and political turmoil. Village trustees have taken action, filing lawsuits against Henyard, accusing her of overstepping her authority and abusing her power. What was once a local governance issue has now erupted into a full-blown power struggle, with Dalton's leadership divided and its residents left watching in frustration. Despite growing opposition, Henyard remains defiant. She continues to resist calls for her resignation, doubling down on her leadership style, which many see as erratic and disconnected from the needs of the people. Her refusal to step down, despite the legal challenges and public outcry, has left many wondering how much longer she can maintain control. While many view Henyard's actions as a direct threat to Dalton's stability, a group of dedicated supporters continues to stand by her, arguing that the backlash is politically motivated. They claim that her critics, including the trustees, are driven by personal grudges rather than genuine concern for the village. This deep divide has turned board meetings into battlegrounds, with heated clashes between her supporters and detractors, creating an atmosphere of chaos and hostility. One of the most intense meetings took place in Thornton Township, where tensions boiled over. The village remains on edge, with every new development adding fuel to the fire. As Dalton teeters on the edge of a political meltdown, one question remains: Will Henyard's defiance keep her in power, or will the mounting pressure finally force her out? With legal battles, financial crises, and community outrage intensifying, the next chapter in Dalton's political drama is about to unfold. One thing is certain: this crisis is far from over, and the stakes have never been higher. Frustration in Dalton has reached a breaking point as residents demand transparency and accountability in the face of mounting financial concerns under Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership. Anger is palpable as citizens press for answers about the village's finances, which many believe have been grossly mismanaged. One of the most serious accusations against Henyard involves the alleged misuse of taxpayer funds for personal expenses, including luxury trips and extravagant purchases. Meanwhile, the village struggles with budget cuts and financial instability. These allegations have only intensified public outrage, as reports suggest that while Dalton faces mounting economic challenges, Henyard's spending remains unchecked. Community programs suffer and essential services face cuts. Many residents are questioning Henyard's priorities and competence. Rumors have surfaced that funds intended for public initiatives were diverted to personal projects, further deepening distrust in her administration. Although concrete evidence is still being gathered, the growing suspicions have fueled demands for an independent audit of the village's finances to determine the full extent of any potential wrongdoing. Henyard's troubles extend beyond Dalton, with neighboring communities also taking notice of the escalating scandal. Some residents fear that her controversial leadership could damage Dalton's reputation and harm its relationships with nearby towns, businesses, and even state agencies. The fallout from her administration's alleged mismanagement is beginning to ripple beyond the village, raising concerns about long-term consequences. With legal challenges mounting, public outrage growing, and accusations of financial mismanagement intensifying, the future of Dalton remains uncertain. The village is at the center of a political firestorm, and the coming months will be critical in determining whether Henyard can withstand the pressure or if her grip on power will finally slip. As scrutiny on Henyard increases, the stakes continue to rise. Will she be able to weather the storm, or will mounting opposition force her to step down? The political turmoil in Dalton is far from over, and with new details emerging daily, the fight for accountability is only just beginning.